Welcome back everybody to today's Tech Tip Tuesday video. Today we will be sending reports via Microsoft Outlook. That's right. Rather than printing a report to PDF or printing a report and then creating a PDF to attach to an email, you can do all of that with some setup in JotBoss and then one click of a button within the module. Today I will show you where to set up the vendor supplier master file contacts tab to automatically populate an email address as well as your PDF when you create a purchase order. Let's actually get started on the addresses tab of the vendor master file, Berry Bearing in this case. Under the location defaults, if you specify that a vendor's location allows purchase orders, the address ID for the vendor location will appear when you create a purchase order on the general tab when a PO is created, or also on the address ID field dropdown when you create a pack list for vendor shipments. So I have the main address ID selected here in the table down below. Address ID is main, of course. When I add a contact to this vendor master file on the contacts tab, I'm going to make sure that that contact is tied to the main address as well, which has purchasing selected as a location default. So if I move over to the contacts tab now, I can see I've already created a contact for Bob Olson here. And Bob Olson is tied to the address ID of Maine as well. So I know that Bob Olson is going to be the person I'm going to be sending my purchase order to. And the most important thing on the contacts tab is to have an email address, a valid email address for your contact. So when you add that contact on the general tab of your purchase order and then print your purchase order, the email will automatically generate that email address in the to field of your Microsoft Outlook email. With the vendor master file now set up properly on the contacts and the addresses tab, I'm going to go ahead and save that and move over to my purchasing function under Material Control Purchasing, where I can view an existing purchase order or create a new one. I want to view an existing purchase order, so I'm going to click on the search button and click on Apply Filter, and I know this one for Berry Bearing Company is the one I'm going to want to open up. So I'm going to double click on the Berry Bearing purchase order and verify my information is correct before I print this purchase order to send to Bob Olson. I click on the Detail tab to verify my materials, quantities, and prices are correct, and click on the Purchase Order function. You will see that I can now view my email with the PDF auto-generated in the system for that purchase order 20006. The address is automatically populated with a subject line 20006. Of course, I could change my subject line and add some pertinent text to my email at this time, and then simply send it off to my customer. There are two other settings I need to set up in order to get this purchase order output to Microsoft Outlook. The first place we want to look is in the user options, which can be found under the F11 key on your keyboard in the Print Options tab. Here you can see a list of form options here. All these forms have their own settings for user options. If I select the purchase order and choose send by email, that's one place I need to set this report up in order to allow me to send by email to my customer. I'm sorry, to my vendor in this case. So I'm going to make sure that send by email is selected here, and I'm going to click OK. The second place I need to set this up is under the Reports tab, Material Control, and the purchase order report. I also need to have send by email selected here, so when I print the purchase order from the function, that form will automatically be attached to the email as a PDF, and my settings for my contact will auto-populate on the email. So let's review. First off, on the vendor master file, you must have an address set up with a location default of purchase and a contact who is also associated with that main address or that purchasing address, along with an email address in order for that output to automatically populate an email address on the Microsoft Outlook email. After that is completed, we can go back to the purchasing function and we can open up our purchase order that we want to print and send to our customer. And on the general tab of the purchase order, we're going to want to ensure that our contact is listed on the general tab. This too also allows that contact to be automatically populated in the email. We are ensure that our reports, purchase order report, has the send by email box selected, and using F11 user options, which I'm going to hit my F11 key on my keyboard once again, print options, select purchase order, and we have send by email selected there as well. Those four settings that we just covered are going to allow this purchase order to be able to open up in Microsoft Outlook with an automatic PDF created and the email address automatically populated in the email. So I'm going to click on that purchase order print preview button. That's going to populate that PDF into my email with the email address of my contact. This isn't the only report that you can attach to emails. I've clicked F11 once again. I'm going to go to the print options window. We have more reports than just the purchase order that you can send by email. For example, bill of lading does not have send by email options, but invoice and credit memo does. Order acknowledgement does, your pack list does. All of those options you can turn on in your print options user options dialog box. This will allow you to send by email various reports shown in the form options window. And that, my friends, is how to create an email in Microsoft Outlook via your reports in JotBoss. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next Tech Tip Tuesday.